Hey, what's up, guys? It's Neonta Williams with the Advocates Chair. Black Alabamians for Education, of course, is the parent company. And listen, I'm so excited. I am sitting here. I'm always excited. Y'all know that. That's part of my tagline. I'm so excited. But I am sitting here with the one and only Duncan Kirkwood. Listen, I should have said all these other things I want to say about you first, but Duncan, I'm so incredibly thrilled to have you here. Here's what I know about you. A child of God. Yep, you quiet.
Oh, yeah.
All right, all right.
Say
Husband, okay.
Yep.
Husband, father, son, Alabama State alum.
That's right.
Also a keynote address for the graduating class of what year, Alabama State?
I don't know, 2017, 2018,
He's
somewhere in
done
there.
so much. That's how dope he is, y'all. A U.S. Army serviceman, National Guard or Reserves?
National Guard.
National Guard. An author. And I'm most excited because this is how I first met Duncan. He is an educational advocate. He was the former state director of BAEO, the Black Alliance for Educational Options, which was our parent organization for BAEO, or for Black Alabamians for Education. So Duncan, welcome.
Woo, woo. Hey, thank you for
I should
having
have
me.
said you was from Buffalo too, because when they hear that accent, they're going to be like, what? Wait, he's not from Alabama. We are so excited to have you here in the building, filming with us today for the Advocates Chair. So welcome, Duncan.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here with you. Man, it's been a while since we've been in the same room.
Yes.
So this is going to be exciting. I've been looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm so excited that you flew all the way in from Buffalo, New York to sit here and have this conversation with us today. I know you have some other business to handle, but I'm going to say you came to visit with us personally. So Duncan, there are so many different, facets of who you are, angles of who you are. But as I said, I met you, it's been 15 years, maybe 18 years?
Yeah,
Probably, maybe let's say 20
it's
years.
It's about 15 years.
It's
since
about
we met.
15 years. Yeah, It's been a minute. It's been at least 15 years for sure. But nonetheless, you were here, you were working in Alabama. How did you get into this space? Like and when I say this space, I mean the educational advocacy space.
Yeah, so when so first again, thanks for having me. I graduated from Alabama State, then I went to Army basic training. Then I came back and worked for a city council member in Montgomery named Tracy Larkin. And what happened? It was funny. He came to campus asking for the students to vote for him, because this is a trick a lot of elected officials don't use. The students that live on campus can vote in the election. So Tracy Larkin said, well, can you, Duncan, I was a student body president, could you get Alabama State students to vote? So I said, yeah, but if I do that and you win, what you going to do for Alabama State students?
I love it.
He said, we're going to create internship programs so that after they graduate, they can work for the city. So help them get the votes. He won. So then when I came back from basic training, he hired me to help the other students to get jobs working with the city. Wow. So I did that for a while. And I mean, I'm writing city laws, because he didn't know what to do with a chief of staff. So I'm just writing city laws. I'm just doing policy stuff. I'm presenting at the council meetings. I'm crushing it, right? Making him look great. We're making a difference. And then a woman named Charlotte Meadows, she was on the school board at the time. She took over as a job to be the Alabama Outreach Director for Students First, Michelle Reed's National Education Organization. And she needed
memory lane, yeah.
And so she needed to hire a field organizer. So she asked me to leave my job with Tracy Larkin to come be a field organizer. So it doubled my salary. It was a virtual job. It was a bigger mission for me. So I said yes. So I worked with Students First for a while. So now I'm traveling the state. We were at that time trying to get rid of the first in, last in, first out policy. Where in Alabama, if a school has a budget shortage or a school district has a budget shortage, the last teachers hired are the first teachers fired, regardless of how good they are. So if they got the LeBron James of teachers and that was their last one they hired, they short on money, that teacher gets cut.
Yeah.
Right. So we were trying to fix that policy. So then.
Did we fix that policy?
No, we did not.
Interesting.
We failed. we were not able to get that fixed.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Okay, because there were some other laws we were trying to work on too, like teacher tenure, but nonetheless.
So now I'm working with Students First. We're doing all this statewide advocacy work, and then John Hilliard was the Alabama State Director for BAEO, and I got to meet him, and he said, I'm leaving BAEO. I'm going to go do my own private consulting. I'm leaving in 6 months. I think you should take over. So that's what he says to me. So 6 months later, he leaves BAEO, and now they're looking for Alabama State Director. He recommends me. So Shree and Ken, the National Advocacy Director and the President of BAEO, fly to Alabama. They interview candidates, and they interviewed me as one of the candidates. Now, at this time, I was 26. I had way less experience than some of the other people who had applied for this job. We're talking about former state legislators. We're talking about council members, business leaders, and me, this 26-year-old, education advocate. And when I walked in, they said, "What do you know about BAEO?" And I recited their mission statement.
That's it.
And Shree was like blown away. And then for the rest of the interview, I could tell like they're going to take this chance on me. And so they ended up taking this chance. And that's how I really got into really hands-on work with families around transforming education. And the thing about education that really grabbed me was I found out that the more I learned about the education crisis, the angrier that I would get.
Yeah.
Because the education system is broken at every possible level, and it's broken on purpose.
Yeah.
Right? That makes me angry that there are possible solutions to a lot of these problems, but the solutions mean somebody is not benefiting from the system like they once were, so they don't want to do the solution because they'd like to keep things as they are, so the money could keep flowing, the pots could keep rolling, everything like that, even at the expense of our children. And that made me angry. Like I didn't like that. And then one more thing before I just end, I also didn't know that I was a product of the education reform movement. Because see, when I went to high school, I went to a performing arts school, which is a magnet school, right? And I just thought, when you grow up, you're like, oh, some kids go to this school, some kids, you don't really think of it. Looking back, my mom saved my life.
Yes.
She saved my life because all the hood kids in my hood neighborhood went to the hood school down the street that you just zoned for, and almost all of their lives have spiraled into disaster. But because my mom had me take a piano lesson, she had me go to the art school, I audition, I get into the magnet school, my life takes an entirely different journey, even though we're all from the same block, the same neighborhood. I just didn't even know that was a thing until later. I was like, wow. What if those kids would have had the opportunity to go to a magnet school?
Duncan, you dropping so many nuggets, man. You got to slow down. Listen, no, I mean, it's not anything bad, though. It's all good because as you're talking, I'm listening and I'm thinking, I'm like, first of all, it's such a blessing to have you here, like such a jewel. And it was such a jewel for me to actually work under your leadership. So, I mean, the fact that in full transparency, I remember, because I am older than you. I don't think I'm much older, but I am definitely older than you. And I remember when I was hired to work as a family community organizer, my internal struggles, like, what can this 26 or 20, I didn't know how old you were, but I knew that you were younger than me. Like, what can this young guy say to me? But you said everything that we needed, and you did, and you led in such a way. And so just shout out to young leaders today who don't really get the opportunity, but then shout out to those leaders or people who are in positions to give young folks an opportunity to lead. And so had I not been under your leadership, and then also with Dr. Fuller, you mentioned Ken Campbell, you mentioned Cherie Medlock, these are folks who paved the way for us to be able to be in the positions that we are today. And so for them to take that chance is just so crazy amazing. And then for you to talk about your mom, I want to go back because we jumped right into how did you get to Alabama or you being in Alabama, but I really want to talk about who is Duncan, where did Duncan come from, what is Buffalo, New York like, what was it like, what propels you to come all the way to the South, back to what I would say our roots are in the South. How did you get here? And then your mom, have you had that conversation with her about, I'm asking you a lot of questions, but have you had that conversation with her about why did she choose to let you tap into your gift that allows you to be accepted into this specialty school? Okay,
so let's start with who am I and how did I get here? So we'll start there. So for me, I always looked at myself as a normal, young black man. You know what I mean? I never was full of self-importance or anything like that. But I did know I was smarter than I let on in school. Because it's not cool to be the one always raising your hand, asking questions. It's not cool to be the one trying your best on the projects. It's kind of and I learned this later, that if a kid doesn't try and they fail, they feel better than if they do try and they fail. Because they have the scapegoat of, well, I don't really care.
Yeah.
But if you gave your all and it came up short, now you feel personally invested, you're wounded. So a lot of kids don't try for that reason. And I was one of those kids. I would I know I could do more, but I don't care. And so I was a C student. So all through high school, I was a C student. Struggle. I got in a lot of trouble with my mom and dad because I just never really applied myself, even though I knew I was, I could do better. And then it was time to go to college. So I applied to this college called Fredonia. It's about 90 minutes from my hometown in Buffalo, New York. Then I applied to a college called Oswego, about an hour from Buffalo. Both of them rejected me. They were really good schools for journalism, which is what I wanted to go into. And it hurt. You know what I mean? To be rejected, because it felt like they were saying I'm not good enough. It felt like they were saying I'm not smart enough. And that was the first time I had felt like that. And that really, really hurt. Right? So I applied to all these schools, and I got like 15 more rejections. And then finally, a man at my church's granddaughter worked at Alabama State and told my parents I should apply there. So I applied to Alabama State and they said yes. And Alabama State took this chance on me. Now, at the time, my first thought was, I don't know if I want to go to a black college because the whole world isn't all black. You know what I mean? So why would I go somewhere that's going to underdevelop me when the whole world is, not black? To me, that didn't make any sense. But I was ignorant. We don't have HBCUs in Buffalo, in New York, right? We don't have them in Pennsylvania, in Ohio. So the concept of HBCUs is a foreign concept to us, right? So going out of the state is like, well, ain't nobody else accept me, so I guess that's where we going. And so I packed my bags, my family packed my bag. We go to Montgomery, Alabama, come across the country by myself to go to college. And what I didn't realize is how good God is, because I have only had one black teacher from kindergarten through 12th grade.
Wow.
And most people don't understand what that does to a child. Because what happens is eventually you start seeing yourself through the eyes of white suburban women. Because our teachers weren't just white. They were white women and they were suburban. They didn't even live in the city. 70% of Buffalo public school teachers live in the suburbs. 90% of the teachers are white and 80% of the kids are black and Hispanic. So let me say that again. 80% of the kids are black and Hispanic. 90% of the teachers are white. And of that 90%,
no connection.
And of that 90%, 70% live in the suburbs. So what that means is Buffalo has the highest suspension rate in New York State. And whereas every other school district in New York State suspension rates have gone down, Buffalo's continues to rise. Wow. To the point where our state attorney general, Tish James, had to do a strong statement. They had to put out new policies around suspension just for Buffalo schools because of what had been happening to students. So anyway, so that's the background of the education system in Buffalo. So when I come to Alabama State, it's like all black people, black doctors, black PhDs, you know what I'm saying? Black businessmen, black elected officials. It's like I'm on another planet. I tell people all the things like, what's it like going to Alabama? I say it's like going to another planet.
To Wakanda.
Listen. The sunshine different here. Yeah. People don't know. They talk about seasonal depression. When you live in the Northeast, there's a lot of water there. So there's always this overcast. There's always cloudy. You don't know what it's like to be in there where there's no clouds and the sun is shining. It's 90 degrees for 6 straight months. So when I came to Alabama State, it was a
Duncan, that's deep.
I came to ASU and it changed my life. It was one of the best experiences I ever had. I found myself. I found my voice. I was 5 minutes from Dr. Martin Luther King's parsonage and 8 minutes from Dr. Martin Luther King's church on Dexter Avenue, 7 minutes from the road where Rosa Parks got on the bus. It totally transformed who I became. Alabama State, they pray at events. Yeah. I come from New York. They don't do that.
Yeah.
Okay, in New York, they'll sue. New York, a bunch of moms will sue if you pray at an event like that in a public. Alabama State, as soon as you walk in, we praying. Then you gonna lock arms and sing, lift every voice and sing. Yeah. You know what I'm talking? Listen, I came here as a normal person. I left as a Black Power advocate, right? And so, being here, really taught me the power of my voice, the responsibility that we have when we have a voice to advocate for others, and that the biggest thing I learned here was that change is possible.
Yeah.
And that is something that I think every human needs to learn at a certain point in their development. Yeah. That the conditions that you find yourself in, no matter how bad, it is possible to change them. Yeah. And when I learned that at State, that's where I became a different person.
I mean, that's a perfect... Duncan, you got me speechless over here. Like I feel like I'm sitting here talking to somebody I never met before, but I knew I'm so blessed to be back in your presence. This is absolutely awesome. Y'all listen, Neonta Williams, but regardless of who I am, we're sitting here with who should be Dr. Duncan Kirkwood on the advocates chair. And we haven't even dipped our toe into what these conversations are about to be about. So listen, stay tuned. We'll be right back. Guys, we're back. I'm Neonta. Regardless, this is Duncan for sure. So, Duncan, listen, you just shared a powerful, powerful, powerful part of your story, your life's journey, and your connection here to Alabama. And so, and not just the state of Alabama, just being in the South and the proximity to Dr. King's church and the proximity to Rosa Parks, bus boycott kickoff and not just a kickoff, but just a determination. And so I mean, I have so many questions I want to ask you, and I'm just sitting here like, man, Neonta, like, where do you start? So with all that you experienced, at what point did you recognize that there's a differentiation between me in Buffalo and me in Alabama, and then how did that tie into education and advocacy work that you jumped into?
Yeah, so
like, was it on purpose, or was it like
so when I came to Alabama, again, originally that wasn't my life plan. I didn't plan on staying here, but I fell in love with being in the South. Again, if you are from the South, to you, it's normal to be around other Black people, successful Black people, educate. Where it's like, this is the way I heard somebody say this once. When you go to a Black college, the expectation is that you are excellent. Mm-hmm. The expectation is that you're brilliant and fabulous, even if you don't see it. As opposed to being in other places where you have to prove that to people. Yeah. And so people rise to expectations. So when you go to HBCU, you're gonna rise to that, or you're gonna fail. You know what I'm saying? But most times it will push you in a beautiful way. So once I got in the flow of it, I never planned on leaving Alabama. So the contrast was when I moved back. So after I graduated Alabama State, I worked for a city council member and then worked with BAEO. All that time I was in the Army National Guard. And then when the time at BAEO ended, I took a job back in my hometown of Buffalo because, BAEO's funders had closed down the chapter. And this was similar work in Buffalo. And I was engaged at the time to my now wife, who's also from Buffalo. We went to high school together. And so it just all kind of worked out. So I ended up back in Buffalo. But once I went back, number one, if I'm being honest, I was a little afraid, because we had built so much in Alabama. I mean, we had won statewide awards, national awards, recognition for the work that we done. We have been battling and fighting and built notoriety and built influence to be able to make a difference. Going to Buffalo felt like starting over. Like all the work I've done, now I'm starting from scratch. Don't nobody know me, none of that. And when quickly I realized when I got there, maybe after, it was like the first month, I did my first press conference. And it was like, I'm not starting over. I'm bringing all the experience and knowledge with me back home. Yeah. So back home, they looking at me like I'm an alien. Yeah. Like, how am I on the news all the time? Why is the news calling me for op-eds? Why am I so passionate about school choice? How are families gravitating to me and we really pushing elected officials? Like, I'm back and forth to Albany, like, oh, that's the state capital in New York. And it's just like, people couldn't understand what was happening. So like when I was getting attacked by the teachers union in Buffalo, right? they think they saying something to me. Like, it was the funniest thing. Like the teachers union might put a story in the newspaper or, do some Facebook posts and stuff. And these because the teachers are mostly white in New York, the teachers union is white. Yeah. So, these suburban white folks attacking me in the news, they think they do it. They don't know that I have dealt with the most vile, evil, cruel, Black-led teachers union in the country. Yes. They don't know the wars I've been through. So when I went home, it's like, nah, I bring all of the experiences and the battles and the people, the relationships that I've built, I bring it with me. So now instead of battling them, I realize y'all not really fighting me. Y'all fighting an idea. So now I'm not even gonna respond to the attacks. Yeah. I'm just gonna ignore your attacks and figure out how we can work together.
How can we work together? You don't know, but we're gonna work together in some kind of way.
You don't know it yet,
but we're gonna work together. Yes, I love
it took them a while to catch on, but now we'll work together when we have issue alignment. We'll work together. When we have other stuff, we'll figure out how we can do it in a peaceful way.
No permanent friends, no permanent enemies, just permanent issues.
That's it.
And that's that good BAEO training, Howard Fuller 101. And I mean, I have a question, and you're living it out, and you're kind of already answering it, but when we talk about, so you are a leader, hands down, you are a leader, but what does transformational leadership look like today?
So here's the thing I think about leadership. We live in a time with social media where people like the idea of being, and maybe this has always been true, but now it's like glamorized to get like 40 under 40 or to be recognized top 100 list of this, or like the notoriety of being a leader is like sexy now. So people want the energy of like, I'm in charge of this, I run this. Oh, I don't like your church, I'll start my own church. I don't like your nonprofit, I'm gonna go start my own. And then we just keep doing stuff just so people can feel important. But when you have transformational leadership, first of all, you don't need a title to do that.
That's right.
Right. Number two, you have to transform something. Right. A lot of people think that leadership is about the title. Leadership ain't about your title. Leadership is about the lasting change you can create. And any person can do that.
Yeah.
Nonprofit, for-profit, title, no title, podcaster, interviewer, advocate, elected official. Anybody can say this is wrong and we need to do something about it. And then they start taking steps to do it. And they don't quit until they've done it.
Yeah.
To me, that's what transformational leadership is. And along the way, people are going to be with you. People are going to be against you, because as you push against a wall of change, there's going to be pushback. So like, now I'm getting metaphysical because I am a resilience trainer, right? But so
yeah,
like,
we got to talk about that.
so like, I'm gonna get just on this point though. Like, people know, everybody's heard of the law of attraction. So like, everybody's heard of like this law of attraction, like attracts like. Steve Harvey made it popular with the book The Secret. But there's other universal laws. And one of them is called the law of three. So for anything to happen, three forces always have to be present. There's a positive force, there's a negative force, and there's a sustaining force. And that's why tornadoes don't rage on forever. Storms don't last forever, because there's these forces have to be in balance, right? So when we push for change, the pushback isn't an indication we're doing something wrong. It's an indication we're doing something right.
That's right.
Because those forces have to all be present for change to happen.
That's right.
And so once I kind of learned that, it really helped me to see people and organizations differently, because I used to get angry, if I'm being honest with you, when it would be confusing and frustrating to say, I want Black kids to get a high quality education, period. I don't care where they live, how much they make. Every kid deserves a high quality education. And a Black person in Alabama that's in the legislature will look at me and say, yeah, but.
Yes.
or my neighbors in the teachers union.
Don't trigger these old energies in me.
Right. And it would be like, how could you say that to me?
Yeah.
I'm telling you, we are fighting to get Black kids into good schools. And you telling me, but I don't know if this group is going to like that. I used to get real like angry, if I'm being honest with you. Like, those almost fighting words in a way. You know what I mean? But now I realize that there has to be this push and pull for things to happen, because those same legislators, after we pass that charter law, what they do, they start calling us. I want one in my district. Yep. How do we get involved?
Yep. How do I enroll my grandchild?
Absolutely.
My child,
so you can't. But so we can't wait. When you're a transformational leader, you can't wait for other people to see your vision before you to act and make it possible.
That's good. That's good, man. Duncan, so doggone good. I love it. I'm telling you that. Listen, I'm so excited. I'm getting tongue tied. I don't even know what to say here except. Listen, if y'all been enjoying this, you got to stay tapped in. And just a plug for our symposium coming up August the 8th, because Duncan is our keynote speaker. And so we cannot wait to have you in the building speaking to 150, 200 minds around where we need to be, especially in the state of the South at this particular moment. So I'm so excited about having you come talk to us. I got more questions I want to ask you, and I know we're running out of time. So I really want to, the work that we did together was around parent advocacy. What advice would you give parents who seem to be intimidated by these systems today?
Okay, listen. This is oh my gosh, my mentor helped me to put this into language. The school systems actually do work if you are a parent who is fully engaged.
Yeah.
So if you are a person who just says, I'm going to send my kid to school and hope for the best, it is likely you are not going to get a good result. But if you're a parent that says, I'm going to send my kid to the school system, now I'm going to go on the school system's websites to learn all the resources they have, you can get a good result from almost any school system.
That's good. That's so true.
Right. So if your child has a 504 plan, if they have special needs, they have all type of supports and programs that you can get. If your child's bilingual, if your child is suspended, right? Most states, and I have to look up Alabama's, but like in New York, if your child is suspended, part of the law is that as a parent, you can request a parent conference in lieu of a suspension.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And then in Buffalo, we've got an extra policy that you could appeal the suspension to the city, to the Board of Education, and get an independent arbiter to overlook that
That is true in Alabama.
right? But as a parent, you got to be involved. Now that's tough.
Yeah.
If you got a job, you got to go to work every day. That you're gonna leave work, skip this day to go to this meeting, skip this day to go right. So I understand it. But what I would tell parents is, figure out what your desired outcome is for the school, for your child in the school district. So if you want your kid to go to college, okay, what needs to happen for your kid to have a successful journey through education and go to college and go on scholarship?
Yeah.
Right. So that means your kid needs to be in leadership clubs. What leadership clubs do they have at the school? Right. Your kid needs to should they take AP courses, which will boost their GPA, or should they take dual enrollment courses, which will give them college credit before they graduate? Like, you need to come up with a plan for your child and use the school system to enact that plan. But if you're going to be passive, in most school systems, they're not designed to just do it for you. Now, if you send your kid to a high-end private school, yeah, they'll do it for you. You pay $20,000 a year, they'll do everything for you. Your kid to come out college ready, full scholarship. Yeah. But in a public school system, you got to do that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And but everything is there for you to do it, but you got to be like actively involved.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Listen, I know we're getting close on time, but I really want to. You are an author of a book entitled Resilience. Rerouting. I'm sorry, but it's all about resilience.
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to ask you kind of this final question, or maybe it's a final question, but was there a personal experience that you had that really birthed the book in you, out of you, for the world to experience, the rerouting that leads us into resilience? Like, was there something that happened, or what happened?
I hope we got like at least 5 minutes left, because this is not a quick story. All right, so I ran for office, which I told you I would do. I ran for office in 2017 for Erie County legislators. So it's in Erie County, New York, we have like legislators that represent the whole county. I ran for one of these positions.
Okay.
I ran against the political Democratic machine. Right now, I'm a Democrat, obviously, but the kind of entrenched party politics. And I ran independent, my family, friends, colleagues. I called you for donations.
That's right, I supported.
Everybody. And we lost, about 5,000 people voted, and I lost by 300 votes, which it's unheard of. Running against the machine.
Yeah.
Right. Because they're going to send those $8,000 mailers out to all the people. I mean, they're going to spend $60,000. They're just going to outspend you. Right. So lost that. 2 years later, I ran again because it was a 2-year term, lost again. This time lost by like 1,500 votes, because beating an incumbent is tougher. And so then after that, I took the next 6 months and I wrote the book on resilience called Rerouting: Resilience, Tools and Tactics. The idea was I wanted to take this Army training, because when I was in the Army National Guard here in Alabama, I was a master resilience trainer. So I was trained to help soldiers build mental toughness and mental agility. So I wanted to take that training and mix it with some like philosophies on being and purpose and self-love to make a book that young people or professionals or educators could use to become more resilient and mentally tough. So we launched the book in 2020, and then COVID hit. So canceled a lot of the book launch stuff, but then schools started struggling with remote learning. Their students were struggling, so they started calling me to do virtual talks on resilience. Then the teachers started burning out. They started having me do virtual talks for teachers. Then the world opened up. Now I travel all over the world doing training on resilience. Last year, I worked with a school in Kolkata, India. I worked with a college in East Singapore, Wake Forest here, and all across the United States, teaching people how to build resilience and grit so they could live out their dreams. And so that book was launched in 2020. And it's 2026, and we've sold almost 60,000 copies of that book to over 23 school districts across the country. And it also landed me a new publishing deal with Penguin Random House, the international publisher. So we have our book coming out, a kid's book about grit, on July 28th. So we'll be launching that book for younger kids and parents to talk to them about grit and resilience as well.
Duncan, you are incredible. I am so very proud of you. I am so proud that the Lord allowed our work to intersect, and for me to sit under your leadership. You taught me so much, and to have the opportunity to work alongside you in this space. And so, I feel like we are sort of like the Dr. Kings of the world, who was just doing the work, who was just following the purpose and the assignment and the lot that God had placed on their lives and He's placed on our lives for a time such as this. And so I'm so grateful for you. I'm so happy that you had time to stop by and speak with us today on the Advocates Chair. I hope that those are listening are encouraged, they are empowered, and they are equipped to, first of all, follow you on all social platforms and continue to be inspired by the work that you've done, but then also stay connected to the work that not only you do, but this organization does. And so in our final moments, that's your camera. You can turn to that camera and say whatever you like to say.
Well, here's what I will say to anybody listening. At the end of the day, we want to make systems better. We want to make the society better, our communities better. But you are responsible for your reality. So for what goes on in your house, for what goes on in your neighborhood, you are responsible. So like if you want your kids to do better, you got to do better. If you want your neighborhood to be cleaner, you got to pick up trash. If you want your elected officials to pass better policies, you got to show up at their office. Like at the end of the day, you have to take personal responsibility to make your life better. That doesn't mean you're going to always win. But by fighting, you never heard the phrase, when we fight, we win? The reason people say that is because fighting itself builds a type of energy that will make people treat you differently. If people could just impose whatever they want on you and you never fight back, then they'll just keep imposing things. But if you fight and you fight and you fight, it changes what people will do to you or for you. So you have to stand up for yourself, advocate for your families, and win or not, just keep doing it because it makes a difference. So I wish you all well. Thank you again for having me.
Absolutely.
I look forward to seeing y'all on August the 8th in Selma. We are going to have a powerful symposium. It's going to be tears, laughter, high fives, energy, encouragement, and we're going to let that be like a launching point for the rest of the year to make a difference, to make an impact all levels of government.
How do people find you?
Oh, you can find me on social, just at Duncan Kirkwood on anything. LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, whatever. Just type in at Duncan Kirkwood. I come right up and they can follow me, connect with me. I love to help anybody I can to become the best version of themselves.
Thank you again, Duncan. We are so grateful. Guys, listen, this is Neonta, and I'm signing out with the Advocates Chair. Make sure you like or subscribe to this on YouTube. And then also we're on all of the podcast platforms from Apple to Spotify to all the places you can find us. So thank you. We'll see you next time.